And we're back for podcast number 9, I think. We're
What
nearing
nine?
double digits now. Um,
Can't get any
we
closer.
we had our good friend Jack Cope on the last 2 episodes. Big thanks to him. Now we're going with three of us. Our good friend Rob is playing in India this week in the I think is it just the Indian Open, something like that?
Got no idea what it's called. I can actually find out quickly, but it's the Asian Tour.
Yeah,
So
Asian
it's
Tour,
the
full
actual
Asian
Asian Tour.
Tour. So it's a
Yep.
pretty big deal.
Do you want the actual name of the tournament?
Go for it.
Oh, here we go.
Be careful.
The Bharat Classic
Ah,
in
Oh, I was expecting
Gujarat
this.
I should have known that really.
in
Yeah.
Ahmedabad, India.
Okay.
At Kingsville Golf Resort.
Oh, you should have said that.
So Rob is a few hours ahead of, I think I've got a few clients in India. I think they're 5 hours or 4.5 hours ahead or something. It's a weird time zone. So he's probably cooped up in bed getting ready for his first round tomorrow. I'm pretty sure his clubs have arrived. Not heard anything to say otherwise. So good luck to him. And this week, the three of us were going to chat about how to get to scratch golf. We were going to do an episode slightly differently about playing golf whilst also having a full-time job. And then I thought, actually, this is probably more that what resonates with people. And obviously, we'll still talk about that. But how to get to scratch golf? It's such like a buzzword in the game. So we wanted to cover that. But firstly, we don't really have any real golf to comment on from last week because we're in that weird stage of the season now. But been some news. Oh, go for it, Jordan.
PGA Tour happened this week.
Right.
Sammy Valmaki won, 27-year-old first ever Finnish player to win on the PGA Tour.
How do you
Um,
finish?
he shot 23 under par.
He's
He
not
came first.
finished. He's
He finished
27.
first. He finished first. Yeah, he shot 23 under par. So yeah, that is all.
Okay. Um, Great. I didn't even know that.
There you go.
No,
Um,
me neither.
and another news, LPGA Tour have announced the 2026 schedule or finalized it, and they're going to have record high prize funds, which is great.
Hmm.
Um, I think, I mean, I don't watch a lot of it, but when I do watch like the British Open, or the Open, sorry, watch the
Oh.
Open, Ladies Open, and when our good friend Louise was playing it, for example, I
Hmm.
think actually on our topic today, it's quite good because of course they don't hit it maybe as far as the likes of a Rory or the men's tour, but also for scratch golfers and those aspiring to get to scratch, it's quite
Hmm.
relatable golf because the ladies are probably averaging about, I think it's about 260 or so off the tee,
Yeah.
250, 260.
Oh wow, they hit it further news. Crazy.
So so it's quite relatable golf because I'm sure there's some golfers out there who'd love to hit it 250, 260, but um they're not just Roy McIlroy hitting it
Yeah, they don't
340
bother.
yards and having a pitch in, and that's kind of it's great to watch, but you're like, I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah, it shows how they're kind of maximizing other parts of the game.
They're very efficient golfers, definitely very
Definitely.
efficient golfers. So great to see
Yeah.
that Tour's getting even better back and probably bigger sponsors as well.
Hmm.
Um, what was the other one I was going to talk about?
The
Oh,
PGA Tour.
the PGA Tour. I think Jordan was saying this earlier. It might have been talked about for a while, but officially now there's a safety blanket if you fall off the tour. So those who lost their card this year will be part of the member, I think it's member support scheme, something like that, which means that as long as they played at least 12 PGA Tour events this year, they will get compensated up to $150,000. So
Hmm.
if they
That's
paid
great.
if they played 12 events and missed every cut, they're still going to get $150,000, which is great as they try and
Yeah, it's a reward for getting there. And I think there's an issue in professional sport, especially golf, especially of mental health. And I guess a lot of the people struggle to get to how good they can be at golf because of the nerves of it all. And if you have that as a fallback, then maybe it'll lead to some better golf.
yeah, I'm obviously saying that in tongue in cheek, missing every cut in the PGA Tour, but PGA Tour's pretty good. So
Hmm.
you can be
Yeah.
an exceptional golfer
And you've
and
and you've
still miss
done
every
very
cut.
well to get there. So
Yeah,
you kind of deserve a 150 grand reward.
yeah.
I was actually looking at the Q score for the PGA Tour, right?
Hmm.
And the entry fee is for so they do first stage, second stage, final stage, but there's a pre-qualifier to get into the first stage. And so this is like not even this is like pre-qualified just to get into the first stage, right? Hazard a guess at the entry fee.
$4,000.
Very close. $3,000, right?
Right.
Hmm.
But if you are a successful pre-qualifier to get into the first stage of Q school, you have to pay another $3,000, right? Which is
God.
crazy. And
So if
then
you
if
miss,
you
so if
get
you miss at that stage, you're 6 grand in a hole with no status.
no. If you get through, so if you're a successful qualifier, you have to pay another 3 grand.
Yeah.
And I think you have to pay for each stage after that, which I think's mental.
Yeah, I mean, we see it not even just in the PGA Tour, but you like the likes of a James Morrison who felt lost his DP World Tour card and now has gotten back onto the tour. And there's so many golfers that maybe didn't get a couple of wins in tour in the PGA or DP World Tour fallen off and maybe just don't have the financial backing to do it again. So at least they've got a good amount of money there that they've got the talent, they've gotten there the first time, they might as well.
Yeah.
They've got a good opportunity to do it again financially.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're paying for the opportunity, aren't you? But it's just quite tough that a lot of boys, unless you get a very good sponsor, would not be able to even give that a go.
yep,
Absolutely.
for sure. So we're going to get into the episode, which is how to get to scratch or how to become a scratch golfer. Not sure on the title yet. I'll ask ChatGPT for give me a list of 20,
Yeah.
and then we'll work
And we'll
out.
pick.
Then we'll work it out, and then I'll go no, make it more literal, no, make it more punchy, something like that.
Yeah, give us some clickbait.
Yeah, give us some clickbait. Yeah, exactly. So, um, to start off with, I wanted to ask a very simple, open-ended question to each of you, which is, what is a scratch golfer? And
Mm.
Kimbo,
Oh,
and maybe in a few sentences or a sentence, whatever you'd like to do.
You know, it's difficult because I've already gone away from this, but it's difficult because a scratch golfer isn't necessarily with a new handicap system. It's not necessarily scratch, so you can't just say someone that shoots kind of the course index or the course rating all the time because it's your best 8 out of 20. Um, so in layman's terms, it's someone who shoots the course rating 8 out of 20 times.
Hmm, true.
oh, I like that. I think there is obviously a yeah, like you said, whatever the word is, that scratch golfers should try and shoot level par every time. I actually think probably a scratch golfer on average, their average score is probably like 4 or 5 over, which is kind of crazy to think. But they must be doing something pretty good to start with, right? So, there's elements of the game, whether that be driving, putting, iron play, short game, whatever, that they actually have to be pretty good at, like, way above average, because there's always usually, when it comes to a scratch golfer, there's always usually something that saves their game.
Yeah.
Whether that's being a good driver, good with your irons, or just an unbelievable putter.
Yeah.
So I just think with a scratch golfer, there's always something that they're pretty good at. And not just like I said, something that's good all round, but actually they're pretty special at something.
Okay. I mean, what I would say in the simple terms is, I know the millions out there who listen to this probably are golf fans and I know about the handicap system, but scratch golfer in literal terms is someone who plays off zero. That's what it's supposed to mean.
Great answer.
But
Great answer.
it is, but sometimes people actually don't know that. They go scratch and they just, oh, what does scratch mean? But scratch is supposed to mean zero. So you would never go if someone goes in the club's house and goes, what are you play off? You wouldn't say zero, or you might, but you're more likely to say scratch. Um, but people, it's kind of a blanket term now. So
Scratch golf. Yeah, playing
scratch
scratch
golf
golf.
is not like it's not like how to get to zero handicap. It's like how to get to scratch golf.
Yeah.
So scratch golf is like a blanket term for, I would say people maybe, and this is where it gets a bit contentious, people group it maybe from +1, +2. Well, definitely sub-zero is like better than scratch golf.
Mhm.
Although what I will say is some people I know, maybe higher handicappers, just go, oh, maybe a scratch and a +5 are the same technically, and I can tell you right now that they're absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
And conversely to that, you'd have people who are off like 5 or 4 claiming to be scratch golfers, and I would strongly say that they're not.
Go and look at
Um,
their
Yeah,
My Scottish Golf and see some 85s in there.
yeah, so I would say something similar with someone who's
me
should
too.
I would say someone who's around zero, so maybe say plus or minus two from 1 or 2 from that. Um, And as we go into objectively what a scratch golfer is, just from a scoring statistics, it says a scratch golfer is averaging between 72 and 74. That's regardless of par. So that's
Which
kind
that's
of
about
back
right.
in Jordan's, yeah. I mean, so you could technically be a scratch golfer and have quite a lot of four overs in your even in your best eight, and you have a couple really good rounds, which I suppose is the problem or just the nature of the handicap system. So, um,
Yeah, I think with the new handicap system, you could actually potentially have a score like have be off scratch and not have an under par score, like under
yeah,
par score, which I
I
yes,
mean,
which I
yeah,
think is
especially,
which I
yeah,
think is
exactly.
mental.
That is mental. Yeah.
yeah. I think this actually we should talk about that quickly before we get into actual the scratch golfer statistics, which is when you're working out if you're a scratch golfer, of course you have your handicap, but then you've got the course
Rating.
rating,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and then how your handicap fares against the course, which is your course handicap.
Hmm.
So it's like what you are playing to relative in that course. And as Jordan says, which to be fair, there is an argument for both.
Then
If
you
you're playing
need that
hard
though.
courses, if you're
You
playing
need
hard
that.
courses and you shoot three over,
Yeah,
then you're
for sure.
relatively shooting scratch or zero.
I mean, you'll
That's
know,
the
yeah.
argument.
Some of the best rounds that you'll have played this year will have been on courses that are very, very hard and you've shot two over. And it feels
Yeah.
like, you've shot 500 at an easy course. I think Burgess, what we play at, is 1.2 over.
Off the
It's
Reds, I think it is. Yeah,
off the Reds, and so effectively we average 1.2 over there to be off scratch. Well, we don't. We obviously average a little bit lower, but the a lot of if you went to Royal Birkdale, it'd be I don't want to know, but off the backs it'd be ridiculous. I know Jordan at Dundonald, you said it was 77, 78,
77.5 over. Yeah,
but it's just so golf courses can be effectively ranked against each other.
Yeah.
And it keeps, because if you'd have it's different, it's better than having a different handicap at every course. It's just the same handicap that's changed at every course. So,
Yeah. And the other variable that we should mention and we'll go into it in more detail later, I think, is the playing conditions. So you have a
mhm.
playing conditions adjustment. So if you're playing, even if you're playing a very easy course, um, but it's really tough. So say that standard scratch is, well, it's not, don't call it that anymore, do they? Do they still call it standard scratch? There's two
Nope.
under for the
They
course.
call it this. I think we got it wrong. I think there's something rating and something
There's
index. But
course
it's one of
rating,
them. It's
isn't
one
it?
of them two.
yeah. Course rating doesn't change. So and then
That's you.
it's
Yeah.
you've got course rating, slope rating,
Yeah.
And then you get your
and you get like
PCC,
a PCC.
playing conditions calculator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But this is what's really annoying me. We've played in some horrendous conditions this year when we've played in, God knows how many rounds where it's been windy and rainy, and the PCC hasn't changed. And I know that Scottish Golf have done things to try and change it because it's obviously done off some kind of
It's a
modifier.
formula. You have
Yeah,
to basically I think it's based on obviously based on the scores and then a percentage of those who
yeah,
went below their handicap or
yeah,
shot
exactly.
level their handicap.
But I remember the old system way back when you'd come in and you'd wait for the scores to come out, and all of a sudden it was free over standard scratch or free over
Yeah.
reductions only, and you'd hit buffer when you shoot six over. I think they need to bring that back because those were the days, and it was a lot more reactive to
yeah,
scores, and it was also worked out off basically category one, which are the more consistent players, which is a
It's
better way of doing it.
it's a fair way of doing it
yeah.
because I suppose, not to get too sidetracked, but you could be off like, and you see it all the time in really tough conditions and say a 12 or 13, well, no, maybe doing a bit of disservice, say they're a 17 handicapper, and because of the way sometimes they hit it, if it's pretty tough conditions and it's a flat cam day, they might end up just shooting a similar-ish score, just have it put something together.
Yeah.
Whereas the scratch golfers, if they're all struggling, then that tells you something.
I
Yeah.
mean, we played at London this year, and it was probably 40
Oh,
mile per hour wind, 50 I hit driver, 2 iron short. If anyone knows that course, you know how it's quite a short first
London
hole.
links, yeah.
And
Mm.
the PCT didn't move. So, I think I shot four over, had the round of my life, and got punished for it. And it was fine, and that shouldn't really happen.
I know
No.
what you mean.
So we get into this. What is a scratch golfer? So objectively, and I've got the stats here, and Jordan can maybe supplement this with some tour stats as well. Um, and I've looked at quite a few sources for this, which is
You've used ChatGPT again, haven't you?
well, no, well, yeah.
You've not looked at other sources. Your man
So
ChatGPT
I've,
has
Yeah,
I've,
done
yeah,
I've,
that bit
I've,
for
yeah.
I
you.
cut, well, I know I went through some reputable sources like articles and stuff, and then put those links into ChatGPT. So put five of them in and said, kind of collate all these and
No, look, mate, I
spit
get
out
it.
an
I get it.
average.
You don't
Yeah.
have to defend yourself. It's efficient. I like it.
No, I'm not getting uptight about it. All right. So it's saying here, which I don't know if I can necessarily agree with, but the average, so just starting with driving the average distance of and maybe I should say, this is, I'm saying objective that if you put all these stats into a machine, this is what a scratch golfer would look like. And we can talk about some people are better at one thing, better than others, because people might listen to this going, well, I drive at 300 and I'm a scratch golfer. But this is the average. Um,
Yeah.
Average distance is 274 yards.
I thought it
Uh,
was shorter than that.
So would I, but then I've just realized that maybe other stats I've seen in the past, which is about 260, could be carry distance. This could be total, so that's not too unheard of to have about
I
10,
mean, if you're
15 yards to roll out.
there's not
Yeah,
many
true.
people at a club that carry at 270 at a usual club.
No, I mean I carry it 270-ish, probably. It's so I'm guessing it's total distance.
I'm waiting for the downwind joke.
The science
Jordan,
is
don't you
definitely-
can't the short hit jokes don't even land anymore.
Windy, was it?
Yeah,
into
in
wind
the
in the
wind,
studio.
in the wind. Yeah. And driving then fairways hit. This might surprise people. People think scratch golfers just never miss a shot, but fairways hit there's between 56 and 57%. So we'll call it 56 and a half.
I mean, 25% of them will be fringe or playable from the rough. You're still making par from a lot of those situations.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you kind of concur with that, Jordan, in terms of accuracy off the tee?
Yeah, the average, I think you're looking at average on tour, you're probably looking at like 72%.
Pretty good, like.
That's obviously with all the holes that they're aiming for the fairway, because sometimes when they do driving distance on the PGA Tour, they only take 2 holes.
Yeah.
They do this for Asian Tour and Sunshine Tour as well, where they actually only take 2 holes where everyone's most likely to hit driver.
Yeah.
And then they take the average distance off that for the tournament. So it's not like, for example, because a load of guys probably won't hit driver on some holes, so they don't take it for all the par fours and all the par fives, because otherwise the average would be crazy and there'd be way too many.
It's actually quite a misleading stat in a way that a lot of pros won't necessarily be aiming down straight down the middle of the fairway. Sometimes they'll be playing up the tight left, and if they run into the left rough, that's actually quite a good tee shot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know that again. I think it was Steve Williams in his book wrote about Tiger, and that he would have his own stats, and some of those stats, his fairway wouldn't actually be the fairway. The fairway might involve some of the rough. So a hit fairway for him would be left rough or right rough, just to open up the flag. So
Yeah. I mean, we can think of countless examples where you might have hit no, maybe not. Maybe if you're hitting the fairway, you're still going to have a good shot in, but you're right. Yeah, you're playing for a miss that even if the pin's on the left, you're like, I'm kind of aiming right half the fairway, goes straight. If great, if not, it might go in the rough. I'm going to have a good angle. Whereas people might think, well, just hit the fairway, but not necessarily. Because if you hit play a cut, for example, that's ideal because you can aim like right half. If it cuts, you're just in the fairway. If it doesn't move, you're fine. But if you aim left of the fairway and then playing for that cut and it doesn't cut, you're now left side of the rough, going to a left pin, and you're screwed.
I don't want to use whole like individual holes, but if you play, for example, the 7th at Royal Burgess and you hit the fairway, but you're tight left behind the trees, you'd rather be in the rough right for the shot to the green.
Yeah. I think Cope actually said that as well about when he was on that. Yeah, some stats can be misleading, but and have a pinch of salt. But the good thing about all these stats is it's based on thousands of rounds, so it kind of balances out, you would think.
66.56 is the average green and reg stats on the PGA Tour.
Green and reg.
Green and reg or fairway?
Low.
Green and reg.
Green and reg. So that's 66%, whereas well, you say it's low, but then we can talk about this. For a scratch golfer, it's 56%, so around 10 greens.
And you think of the courses that they're playing compared to what the PGA Tour.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's the courses, it's the conditions. They're playing probably courses that could even be 1,000, 1,500 yards longer.
If you're hitting, I mean, that's like basically the equivalent of like 11 greens, and if you hit 11 greens around Bethpage Black, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
It's the clubs are going in with. They're playing courses that are about 7-4. So even Rory's hitting driver 7-iron into these holes, which I mean,
obscene.
Yeah, exactly.
But the good news is, if you're aspiring to be a scratch golfer, and we'll chat about how to get there. I mean, you'll just have to hit just over half the fairways and just over half the greens, which doesn't sound too unattainable.
Yeah, the best thing about stats is it's quite surprising how low they actually are for scratch golfers, even professional golfers. If you can just look here, so
We're going to
Average,
short game next, by the way. So if you have a short
yeah.
game
So
one,
I can do a short game one real quick around the green. What have you got for short game?
short game. This actually said across all these articles, it's the biggest variable, and this is where we can talk about where some players stand out. So they said for scratch golfer, the range is between 30 and 70%. So the average is 50, but there is, compared to other stats, there's a lot bigger standard deviations, probably a better way to put it, where you've got a low and a high. So you might, I think everybody knows this, where there's maybe a guy at their club who's a scratch golfer and they go, oh, he hits it nowhere, but he gets up and down from everywhere. He's probably at the 70% one.
Right.
Whereas there's a guy who's a bomber off the tee, but he can't chip to save his life. He's the 30% one. And you're like, if only he could chip better, he'd
So if you're talking
chip
like
some
inside
million.
100 yards,
Um,
or is it just short
a
game?
short
The
game
short
slash
game.
scrambling, yeah.
Yeah, so short game is classed as inside 100 yards on the PGA Tour, and
Okay.
the average green and red percentage on the PGA Tour from inside 100 yards is 85%.
So
Is that it?
they're still missing 1.5 effectively,
Yeah,
1.5 out of
So
10
they're
green.
still missing, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, but then
but you got to
they're
bear in
going for
mind
flags,
that's that's their shot they're hitting into the green for the
Yeah.
green and red. So it could be from the rough, it could be from the bunker, it could be from the fairway, it
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
could
And
be anywhere.
if you're looking at if they're going for a tucked front right flag from 100 yards, you still if you're out by a couple of yards, you're in a bunker in a
Yeah,
rough. So makes sense.
the
Yeah.
best performing person was Grayson Sig, and it was 93% from inside 100 yards on
Quite
average.
impressive. It's quite impressive. Middle of
So
the green never moves, Jordan.
Middle of the green and never moves.
so obviously it's a lot harder than it is, but than it just sounds saying this. But so far between driving approach and short game, you have to be just over half, yeah, in the top 50% to kind of be a scratch golfer, which is, I mean, it probably does surprise a lot of people. I know Kentwood plays a lot with his like plays with bosses and plays with different guys he meets at events, and then you feel such under pressure because you're playing with guys you may be playing
I know.
to like 15 or 16 handicap, and you're like, I can't even hit one bad shot because I know I can hit bad shots and still shoot in the par, but they
Yeah.
don't know that.
They're
So
expecting perfection,
if I
exactly.
hit a
Yeah,
bad shot in the first, but then have four birdies, and they're probably thinking, I
Yeah,
bet he like,
but yeah.
but
Yeah.
he chipped it like 20 feet past in the first hole, and you're like, yeah, but yeah, I had a
Yeah.
terrible lie, and you don't even want to get in this
I
conversation with
know.
them.
It's actually
Yeah.
sometimes it's more nerve-wracking playing with high handicap golf because they're expecting you to shoot like under par.
100%.
Like I
Yeah,
played with one boy this week when I'm back home, and I hit one out of bounds, lost one ball, and he was like, "Oh, that was two pretty bad shots." And I was like, "Yeah, I still shot five under though." You know what I mean? And he's just like, "Oh," I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, oh, indeed."
yeah, and I think people, I want to stick to scratch, but obviously we're talking about comparing this to tour as well. You see the boys you're watching on TV are the boys you're playing well that week.
Mhm.
I mean, I've marshaled at events, um,
Yeah.
caddied in one or two, save one,
Two events,
and
two events.
caddied in two courses, one event, and I mean, marshalling that. I know the Open's obviously tough, but at Port Rush, people are losing balls.
Yeah, of
I
course.
remember at Port Stewart, 2017 when John Ram won, Soren Kjeldsen, who's like probably one of the
Hmm.
straightest hitters on tour at the time, absolutely blasted one like 100 yards right off
Hmm.
the 10th tee and or the ninth tee, and you're like, wow, these guys have a really bad shot in them as well.
Yeah.
You need to remember that the people you're seeing on the TV are like the
Yeah,
top
exactly. The ones who are in
15,
control that week. Yeah.
the ones who are hitting the best shots, hole and putts. But I tell you what, there's very good players who are hanging around the cut who maybe struggled with their chipping that week, struggled with their putting, and you're just not seeing them.
Exactly.
Um, and so obviously, if it's true for them, it's definitely true for scratch golfers.
Yeah,
Um, Going to putting, and then I've got a birdies and bogeys avoidance stats as well. But going to putting, the average putts per round for scratch golfers 31.3,
Mm.
which
average putts per round. Right. Okay.
I mean, there's two levels to this. There's obviously the amount of putts you've got your
Yeah.
percentage
It
hole
depends on
out
the green
putts, like
elements.
when you're holing out from 10 or 15 feet. But
Hmm.
there's also the just the basic miles, which is we've just said that a scratch golfer's an average probably going to be over par, actually on
Hmm.
average.
But I think again
Hmm.
that stat is a strange one because it's a good you can kind of tell you that you've had a bad putting day or a good putting day by the number, but also if you've got a high putting number, say if you've had 33 puts, it sometimes can just say you've had a very good long game day and
Yep.
that hit a load of greens and you've just maybe not held a few birdie putts, but you've had a lot of two putts. The the worst one is where you've missed a lot of greens and you've had 33 putts. So,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and obviously when you dig deeper into it and you start looking at the strokes gained of actual footage, that's when it starts kind of identifying weak points.
Yeah, I mean there's so many variables to, of course, to all these metrics, but especially putting, because as you say, you could hit 18 greens, but you're leaving yourself 40 feet, so you're not going to make many one
Exactly.
putts from 40
Yeah,
feet.
Yeah,
it's again comparing it to PGA Tour, you're looking at 29.05 putts per round.
Yeah,
that's pretty good because they're hitting a lot of greens. So
yeah,
Hitting a lot of greens, hitting more greens on average, and hitting it closer probably. But again, good services every week, right?
yeah. I mean,
So almost putting's a bit more easier it's a bit easier for the guys
yeah,
in
yeah.
PGA Tour, I think.
If you're stroking it well, it might go
Yeah.
99% of the time it's going in. Yeah.
yeah. But this also gets into, I mean, I find putting, I think most people obviously find putting very frustrating because not everyone's going to hit the ball like Rory, but technically you should be able to hit a putt like
Yeah.
him.
The
Obviously,
bandwidth of
Yeah.
improvement with your putting is massive, and everyone can get a lot better at putting. We can be, like you say, better than Rory at putting, and it would probably take a lot less effort to get better at putting than Rory than better at driving the golf ball than Rory, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah, it's such a level playing field putting because you don't need to have, you're actually trying to limit your body movement if anything. So
100%, yeah.
Mhm.
there's so many, and that's why there's people on the senior tour who are still unbelievable players because they still got their putting. And
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about just holing out. I mean, going from course to course every week and being able to
Well,
two
that's
putt
it.
from
Yeah.
50 feet
It opens up a whole
consistently.
new kind of bucket of skills about reading grain and grass and stuff that comes with experience and
Yeah,
time spent putting, you know.
definitely. And then we'll go into like, this is just the, I suppose, the stats bit, which is we're trying to build what a scratch golfer looks like. And finally, I've got here, and Jordan might want to add something, or Kempo as
Mm.
well.
Go for it.
Um, Birdies and bogey avoidance, and I think this is where it gets quite interesting. So,
Yes, this is huge.
as a scratch golfer averages around two birdies around.
Right.
I thought it
Yeah,
was a bit more than that, maybe two,
it's
between
actually
two
it's
and
I
three.
I actually think it's less than that. I think it's about 1.8.
I was
Oh,
about to say
really?
over a whole season, if you think about it, that's two is not bad.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, which I'd like to add to this is probably going to be one's probably going to be in a par five,
Hmm.
and the
yeah,
other one's going to be in a short par four.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Very rarely are even scratch golfers, well, probably more than the average golfer making twos on a par three, for example, but that's
Hmm.
not where we see ourselves picking up shots on the golf course.
No, the easiest way to pick up shots on a golf course is not making bogeys because you've
Yeah.
got like a 1.8 birdies per round for scratch handicap golfers. And then when you're a 20 handicap, your average birdies per round is 0.2.
Hmm.
Whereas if you are a scratch golfer, your bogeys are like 2.2.
Yeah.
But your bogeys for a 20 handicapper are like 8.4.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you go from like a 1.6 average in terms of birdie difference between scratch and 20 handicappers to like nearly like a 6 stroke average,
Yeah.
you know,
And at
Yeah.
that ability level,
for
the
bogeys.
easiest, yeah. So the easiest way to get better if you were off 15 to 20, instead of trying to make more birdies,
Yeah,
is just trying to limit the mistakes. That's
absolutely. Make less
yeah,
bogeys.
exactly.
Yeah. And that comes down to, I suppose, the next component, which is what getting to scratch requires. So maybe we can talk a bit about our journey to scratch and when we first hit scratch golf, or what we perceive to be scratch golf at least.
Mhm.
Um, so and maybe what we worked on to get there. So Jordan, I'll let you go first. You're probably like six or something.
uh, I think it was 3 days before my 16th birthday. I shot 3 under at the Bracken course at Woodall Spa in like a schools competition. And I got to 0.2. Um, Back in those days, I didn't have a clue what was going on. I was just playing golf and just enjoying it and didn't really actually know what I was doing that much. As a young as a young kid, it's you pretty much get taught to hit it straight and make up and down from everywhere.
Hmm.
So kind of changing that into a bit more of an adult phase. It's almost like, yeah, I think there's got to be some part of your game that needs to be good, like really good.
Yeah,
Like, there's usually, like I said earlier, a scratch golfer is usually really good at something. There's always scratch golfers. You see at your club and you're like, oh, he doesn't miss a fairway. Oh, he makes up and down from everywhere. Oh, he doesn't miss inside 6 feet or something like that. So yeah, for me, I didn't really know. I mean, it was like literally 13 years ago.
Yep.
But yeah, recently in terms of if I can just change it back to like for me this year, I'm making, and this obviously doesn't kind of come back towards being the scratch golfer stuff, but definitely last year. So all the events I played last year, I think I played like 24, 25 rounds in competitive golf and I made one double bogey.
yeah.
This year I made quite a few and also a triple. Um,
I caddied for one of them. Oh no, you
yeah,
made you made bogey. Doesn't
no,
matter.
I didn't make a
I
bogey.
was there
I
for the
didn't make,
triple.
I didn't actually make a double at Duddingston, but I did make a triple at Open Qualifying. So Ethan, that was rubbish from you.
Yeah,
So yeah,
should have been a driver.
definitely. But then I've made more birdies this year than I did last year. So,
Yep.
for someone, if you're looking to be like scratch or better, it is talking about birdies because that's when you need to start getting under par. But if
Yeah,
want to get from like 10 to scratch, you need to stop. You need to limit the bogeys because that's huge.
Mhm.
yeah. Um, okay, I wasn't 15 or 16, I'll tell you that. I think when I was 16, so I used to play, I was a bit of a summer golfer until I was maybe actually 15 or 16. Joined a golf club when I was like 12, played rugby at the school, and then played went to a small grammar school, not a private school. I always have to try and preface that. Lauren Grammar School is not a private school, I'll tell you that. But over here, grammar school means private school. And small school, and although I had good crack in the rugby team, we won something. It was mainly training 3 days after school and then getting beaten a Saturday for the most part. So I thought, actually, I'm going to try and give this golf thing a good go. So when I was like 16, I was off like 12, and I literally in that year just chipped and putted in the lead up to the summer. And then it was funny, we were playing an inter-club competition where you pair like a category two with a category one. I think it was like a maximum 18 between the two golfers. So or minimum 18 it would have been. So I was off 12, the guy I was playing with was off six. And by the end of that summer, I was playing off the same handicap as him. And I literally, I remember thinking I'm actually not hitting the ball much different to when I was playing off 12. I just kept putting and chipping a lot better. And then from there went to uni, and I would say I've been playing scratch golf for probably about no, probably a bit more than that, 5 or 6 years. I've been technically off scratch for less than that, and then been off plus one this year. But I think, yeah, it's kind of like highlighting your weaknesses, playing with good players. I think we'll have a section about how you really get to scratch golf, but playing with good players is a big thing. And so yeah, I've not had a big long golfing career to kind of push on from. I'm actually getting better each year now,
Yeah.
which is good. This is the best I've ever been,
Yeah.
basically. Um, so yeah, what about you, Campbell?
I think my story is probably quite familiar with a lot of boys who've played golf. I mean, I did the thing you get obsessed with golf when you're kind of 11, 12. Um, and I remember I was off five when I was kind of 13, 14, and then I got down to scratch when I was 17, and then I did all that, played all the Reed, the Carris, the McGregor. I played the Brabazon in 2018. I qualified for that at Fairhaven, and I was getting quite good. And I did all the county stuff, I did England regional stuff, and then I always kind of struggled to take the next step. I was okay at county, and then when I played in the big stuff, Jordan will tell you in the Brabazon, I don't even know what I shot. I think I've blocked it out of my mind. But I always
Awful.
struggled to take my best stuff to the bigger occasions, and I think Jack spoke about that. What makes these top amateurs kind of slightly better? It was I just had no confidence in those big events, and I think the lowest I got to was I think plus 2.2. That was probably 3 years ago, and I've just slowly started getting worse as I started full time work. So
Yeah,
I'm hanging on to plus one, but I'm skin of my teeth now. So
yeah, we can chat about that and just kind of combine that and say that obviously and actually Jordan, to be fair, obviously much better golfer than us too, but full-time work and still is technically full-time work until the end of the
yeah,
year. I
yeah,
mean, balancing, and I think this is where when we get on to giving advice to people trying to get to scratch, it becomes difficult because although I was kind of a late bloomer, a lot of that hard work just takes time.
Mhm.
I mean, even at uni, the first 2 years of uni, I mean, did pretty well. Obviously, passed everything, was doing okay in my studies, but I was basically a full-time golfer for two
A
years.
lot of golf balls. Yeah.
I mean, you hit a lot of golf balls. I mean, we're doing with Dean, our coach, and then the
Yeah.
teams we're
Jordan's shaking
playing.
his head. Jordan hit less golf
Jordan,
balls than us.
but Jordan was already good about 5 years before that. But
I was pretty good at just playing golf.
He was pretty
yeah,
good at playing golf.
but you go up and playing golf all the time, playing events, which and that kind of helps as well. But now, as in full-time work, basically what I've been doing the past 4 years since I've been working is, I mean, the good and the bad news is I've actually gotten better, but I could definitely get even better. And I'm going for my
Yeah.
first lesson in a few years on
That's it.
Friday, which
I
is
think I
great.
Two.
think
But
when you work, you've really just got to find ways to be efficient.
yeah,
Yep.
And also be disciplined because obviously we love golf, and especially when you've had a hard day at work, you just want to get to the golf club in the summer and just play golf and chat to your pals. When really that's sometimes not the best thing to do. Um, and
yeah,
it's that's where the discipline comes in, and you've got to go. What am I bad at? Let's go and get the putting green. Let's practice my stroke, starting it online, that kind of stuff. Not always as fun as go and playing a bounce game with your pals, but and then in the winter it's the complete opposite. You've got to again have discipline to go and practice, knowing that it'll pay off in the spring.
yeah. I mean, I think best way I describe it is, yeah, we've got full-time jobs, and I was still pretty course sharp this year, which was good, but it meant that the technique I was going into this year was just okay, and then it was course sharp, whereas ideally, which is what I'm doing this winter, is having a structured plan so that my technique is even better next year, and then when you add the sharpness to that, I should be
Yeah,
shooting better scores. I mean, we all know how to play golf. It's just like what level we can get to whilst also managing
yeah, and
full-time work.
I think obviously I still want to get as good as I possibly can. I still want to play for a county. I still want to do that stuff, and that's what we're trying to practice for. I want to get back to where I was before I started work. You know,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I was going to ask, I suppose, subjectively then, how, with all that in mind, what advice would you give to someone becoming a scratch golfer or who's seeking to become a scratch golfer? What would you consider in terms maybe of their age, their current skill level? I suppose what I'll just kick off by saying that's probably the first thing I would assess is, right, if you're a 14-year-old and you're going to have all this time during the summer and your parents are going to drive you to the driving range, then the sky is basically the limit. You just
exactly.
need to have a structured plan, even if
And
you
not, I
feel,
don't even think you need a structured plan at that age. Even I think Jack said it last week about when you when you're 14, 15. When I started flying down and got to 4 or 5 when I was 13 or 14, it was the fact that I just was on the golf course all the time
mm,
playing golf.
Mhm.
And I just like you say, your long game doesn't necessarily get better, but you just get
yeah,
the ball in the hole by
Yeah.
playing golf so much. And
yeah,
that's why if you think back, I mean, how much you loved the game then, you were getting dragged off the golf course at that time.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
I
and I
suppose
think I
not
think
even a
the
structured
the
plan. It's like just
direction,
committing
yeah,
time to it, just
yeah,
committing
exactly, and the
time to play.
direction can come later.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Yeah.
that's like the first thing I would work out is like what stage of that. If they're like our age now,
mhm.
which is, I mean, people are going to be shocked to hear this, like mid-20s, mid to high 20s, mid to
Mid
high
to
20s,
high 20s.
mid to
Yes,
high
and
20s. And you're
Yeah,
getting into golf for the first time, or you're like you give up the football or rugby, as a lot of our friends do, and go, I'm just going to golf a go. I mean, the good thing is you've already got the distance. Well, you should do. I mean, the issue when you're like 12, 13 is you can't hit the ball very far. But I know my younger brother Keelan, he's gotten into golf the past couple of years. He's a pretty big lad, so he can hit it
yeah,
far. He can already get to a scratch golfer's distance if he needed to.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and I think at that stage, it depends. Yeah, everybody wants to get better, but are you doing this alongside another sport? How many
It's
balls
yeah.
per week can you actually hit?
It's
Because
actually it's an interesting question, that isn't it? And probably
Yeah.
Jordan, I don't know if you have the answer, but if you start young, build a technique, and then the length comes with growing in age, or when you start strong, athletic with no fundamentals, and then you're trying to build a golf swing, is that worse?
I think once you build a good golf swing, you've always got it,
Yeah,
right? You can get smaller, you can get bigger, right? But once you've got a good golf swing and you know how to get the ball in the hole, you kind of don't forget that. So I think starting off with a good technique first is far more important than hitting it miles offline, not having a tight short game, not being a very good putter. Making sure your techniques sound first and then getting everything else involved after that, I think is probably more important. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of assessing where you're at, and I suppose you don't have to get coaching, but I mean the reason that I'm getting a coach is because I don't really have the accountability anymore. I'm kind of like, well, just, and I'm pretty
100%.
consistent with most things in my life,
Yeah.
but I'm like, oh, I'm going to get better this winter, and then it comes around to February. I'm like, well, I don't really have time to do proper swing work now, so I
Yeah.
better just start getting ready for the first events of the season. But now I need to have something to actually
Yeah.
work on, someone to give you direction.
Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
One lesson a month is enough.
Yeah.
yeah,
Without question. You can do one lesson a month as long as you practice maybe once or twice a week. Because if the worst thing is you go to the range and you think you know what you're doing, right?
hmm
And then you end up having a range session, hitting it pants, and then you go out and you're like, well, that was just pointless. Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely lessons are so important, because going to the range and actually working on something and then coming off and going, wow, that was actually really productive, actually makes you feel
Yes.
better about your golf. Whereas even if you had even if you had a good range session without working on something, you're gonna go, oh wow, that was all right. And then you come back and you've lost completely what you were doing the last
yeah,
range session. Because how many times have you been to the range hitting it good and then you've gone to the range the next week and hit it rubbish and you're gone, I literally was so good last week. But it's because
yeah,
you've not worked on anything. So
Yeah.
having a lesson or two a month and just hitting some balls and getting, feels, using training aids and stuff like that, I think's definitely, and keeping the frequency up as well. How many times do you play and you go, I haven't played in 3 weeks?
Yes.
yeah,
I
That's us at the
haven't
moment.
played in
Yeah.
2 weeks. And then I'm like, well, and then you go out and shoot like 5 over and you're like, oh, yeah. But I was like, well, you haven't played in
Right.
3 weeks
It's
or
almost
two
like
weeks. Do you
you're
know what I mean? So,
it's almost like you're a golf pro who's trying to sell some lessons, John.
no, not
Um,
anymore. But it's like on holiday. See, when we went on holiday, everyone played better as the golf holiday went on. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
yeah. I mean, and if you're going to PGA Pro, they will work out all this out for you and go, okay, what's your current skill level? What do you do for a living? How much time can you actually put into this? And then they'll give you lessons based on that. Obviously,
Yes, agreed.
if I went to a coach and I was a going full-time pro, what they're going to give me to work on is a lot different to me working nine to
Hmm.
five, five
Yeah,
days a week.
Agree. A
So
good pro will set that out early
yeah,
and ask you how much time have you got, where do
yeah,
you want to get to in the game, and that will dictate what will change. I think if you want to get very, very good and the sky's the limit, you want to be a tour pro, you might work on potentially a swing rebuild. But if you just
yeah,
want to kind of play decent golf, get to, I don't know, playing, competing in a county event or whatever, he'll change more subtle things. So
yeah.
yeah,
The first thing you get asked is what's your objectives for the lesson. So, and then they should, you as the golfer should just rattle off a couple of things that you kind of maybe you think should be focusing on, or what your long-term goals are, or your short-term
yeah,
goals, or whatever. And then actually establishing a relationship first in terms of, okay, this is the time I've got. I'm not going to be able to practice every day, but give me something to work on where I can, perfect that before the start of the season.
I think that's a good point you made, even about it's actually a quite a good tip about how to kind of maximize your winter to get to scratch. Is that actually if you get a structured framework with a coach and you have a lesson every, like say, 2 lessons a month, the accountability bit comes from you're not going to turn up to a lesson without practicing. So, you're not
Yeah,
if you go on Friday for a lesson and you haven't played in 3 weeks, that's not you. That's a stiff,
hmm
not been swinging a golf club. It's like when you go to a fitting. If you were going for a fitting, you practice before it, so you get to where your swing actually is. You don't want to turn to
yeah,
a fitting cold.
yeah,
So that's a quite a good tip is structure a winter program with lessons in that.
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Imagine paying for a lesson and not having played for 3 weeks.
No,
Honestly,
yeah,
I've had it a few times where people
like
come to me,
coaching a different person.
I've not played in 3 weeks. I'm like,
Get
okay,
out.
great. Like,
yeah,
and then, or they come back for a second lesson. They go, oh, I've
Not
actually
practice.
practiced once in the last 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, well, let's just repeat what we just did 3 weeks ago then,
Exactly.
could
Yeah.
we?
You don't mind. It's easy money for you.
No, well, it's just frustrating because you come back and they're just doing the same thing, and you're just
Yeah.
standing there and you're just like, oh, okay, well, yeah,
yeah. Because
this,
obviously, from the
let's,
pros' perspective, you're giving them something that it could be a long-term thing to work on, but it could be something to get you to the next lesson. Be like, right,
Exactly.
okay, you've mastered that now. Maybe still
Exactly.
work on it, but here's another thing to work on, and you're
yeah,
still like, oh, you've not done it, so I'm going to tell you the same thing again.
yeah, as a good golf coach, you should always give long term like fixes and know that someone's actually going to practice. But sometimes some people just come in looking for a quick fix, and quick fixes aren't a bad thing, especially if you're having lessons in the summer, where
Yeah,
people just go, "Oh, I've got a big slice can we fix it? And then you just go, okay, well, let's do this, this, and this, and then it should just fix that. And knowing that, come the end of the year, that you'll be working on something else to make, correct the quick fix almost, right? So
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think we should move on to. So we've talked about what a scratch golfer is in terms of stats. We've talked about technique of a scratch golfer, but I've got a few other kind of things I want to cover. You might want to chip in as well, pardon the pun. Um and about I mean what personally for me, even getting from like category two to scratch, the different what things I did that helped a lot. And I mean, I'm just gonna say firstly, especially this new handicap system, you've got to play competitions.
Hmm.
yeah.
You've got to have a card in your hand. You can't be putting your casual scores in and you have people playing off five or six, some YouTubers playing off five or six, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's not even scratch golf. And I can tell you right now, you're not five or six
No.
handicap because you
Yeah.
went out in a Saturday medal at your local club, the course that you play maybe two or three times a week. You're still not going to play to your handicap because you're not used to playing under
Agreed.
pressure.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the feel I get, and I still get nervous for Saturday comps. Not nervous, but there's a definite feel of this the competition, and our golf games are. They shouldn't be, but they are completely different. When you've got a consequence to each shot, and if you can play scratch golf in competition, that is a different level, a significantly better level than playing scratch golf on a Tuesday night with your pals. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Jordan, you might want to add something to that. Maybe not.
nah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe in your experience of people who
Yeah,
you
you
get a
know
lot of
what?
these casual players now that
Yeah, you get it all the time, and you can almost, it's tough, right? Because some people just want to play golf to enjoy it, and they just don't play competitions. They just don't want to play
yeah,
competitions, right? Which is fine. But if you're not willing to play
You
competitions,
can't quote a handicap.
you can't you can't go around saying you are a scratch golfer, plus golfer, low handicap player because you haven't experienced an element of golf that is really, really prevalent
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
sport.
yeah,
It's not like other sports where you can just go and be really good and not have competitions. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, imagine,
Um,
yeah,
you
exactly.
can go and play tennis and be really good, but
yeah.
no one's going to say that you're really, really good because you might not play in
Yeah, I
competition.
agree.
So
I mean, if you're wanting to get better, you need to play competitions. And I was going to say, forget scratch golf. I wouldn't even say you're a genuine single digit
In a
golfer
competition. Yeah.
unless you play competitions
I mean, we,
because,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
There's no consequence.
I mean,
We
there's no
always talk about
consequence.
the if we had a match play handicap, it would be insanely low because we play with no consequence. Well, not no consequence, but we can play with freedom. We can experiment. We don't care about chunking a chip, so we'll try something. So
yeah,
it's you that's how they play. That's how you'd play if you were just playing golf with
Yeah,
your pals. So um, it's a
yeah,
different sport. The biggest one of the biggest elements of golf is playing golf with a card in your hand, and it's
yeah,
yeah,
probably the top three elements of golf. And if you can take that out, it's quite not an easy sport, but it's a lot easier.
yeah. What I was going to say as well is playing other courses. I
Hmm.
mean, you've got a lot of guys, and I know this from my club back home, and
I know
guys who
this
are
from personal experience.
personal experience. I mean, but it
Mm.
is kind of
One track
there's these
pony.
guys who are, I mean, what I would say as well, scratch golfer is probably someone who, unless they play at a very, very good, we've got a strong golf team at our club, but they should be on the fringes of getting onto the scratch team there. Like they
Yeah,
should be in the top. You want to be competing for a space on those teams, and the people who don't get in those teams and maybe actually do play off scratch or want to do play in competitions, to be fair, that don't get picked is probably because they only play at their home course. And if
potentially.
you've got an away tie, you're never going to get picked to play because you need to be
Yeah,
able to adapt your game. You're going to be playing on a course against someone who's could be
Knows the
potentially better
course.
than you around their home course.
yeah,
I mean, you could as well at this level, you kind of if you shoot three under par, you should still expect to get beat sometimes. Like it's not
Hmm.
it's and that's a lot of players struggle to do that, and that's where you kind of I suppose the next level of that is playing other courses in competitions, and that's where you end up playing your tournaments, and that's
yeah,
where the real kind of that's
Yeah,
beyond scratch golf, I would say, because I know a lot of good scratch golfers who'd no interest in playing tournaments.
yeah.
yeah,
Um, but that's
But then
kind
you
of elite
realize
stuff.
you realize if you can do that and you go to away and play well at courses that i.e. you've never played at or you've only played a couple of times, then you're pretty good, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it's funny when you'll know guys who who will be off a similar handicap to you, but you look at the scores and it's literally all the same club on a Saturday. I mean, I think my lowest numbers, and I'm not lying, all my low numbers this year are from other courses. I don't think I've actually had one good round of Burgess this year.
Yeah.
No.
And I don't know whether that's a mental block against Burgess or whether I don't know what it is. I think I'm just a bit of I was going to swear
Nervous.
then, but yeah. But it's again, that's another skill in itself, and I think it's a good one to start if you can start playing in different opens and different events and learning. And
Yeah.
that's the enjoyable bit of golf as well. You're missing out a massive enjoyment of golf is going playing other courses in
And it's
competition.
more
Oh,
accessible
yeah.
than you think. I mean, I played Scottish Stroke Play this year, Tennant Cup, quite big regional or national tournaments, but you don't even need to play that. You could play a Gents Open somewhere. You
Yeah,
could play an open, yeah, just a 18 hole open
Yeah.
somewhere for 15 quid. If you
Gents
have a great
Open,
day,
that's open.
great. If you have a bad day, at least you've got competitive
great voucher
experience
money.
playing with
Yeah,
randomers on a course that you don't really play too often.
Yeah,
exactly.
great voucher money. The Gents Open circuit, serious scratch money prizes right
Yeah,
there.
motor caddy in no time.
Oh mate, I think our one's like 250 quid for the first place in the scratch prize.
And
So
how
Yeah.
much is it to play the Burgess one? 45 quid?
I don't know.
Cheers,
45,
John.
I don't think it's as
30,
much as
40
that.
quid, something like that.
Yeah.
And if you were to play it in the summer, it's probably what, 180, 190, something like that. So you're getting a good course for
Oh
cheap, and
yes.
so
Yeah. I mean, there's just getting a scratch golf, which I would say is that where you can play other courses. If you want to get better than that, I would say you're then competing to play in national and regional tournaments. But if you can shoot, even if it is between 72 and 74 on the way course, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. I
yeah,
mean,
Mhm.
you should be pretty proud of yourself if you can do that. Say if you play 5 Gents Opens, you do that 3 times out of the 5, that's pretty good.
yeah.
And then yeah, as I
Yeah,
say, it's the
exactly. It's
pressure
reps, isn't it?
as
It's
well.
reps. It's getting reps under your belt. And as I said, and I think Jack touched on it. You've got to just get comfortable at certain levels. So
Yeah. And then finally, I was going to say on this is sometimes you can't really control this is tough conditions. So being able to, and we've done so well this far, not to say the one-way miss, but I've just said it
fine.
towards the end of the podcast. But
Oh well.
knowing your game, have a one-way miss, and I think obviously your weaknesses get even more exaggerated in tough conditions, and being able to adapt to that. So, I mean, we talked about our biggest fears, and yours was like left-right wind, Campbell. And if
Yes,
it's like that and a
still is.
blowing gale, being able to stand on a tee and go, I have a shot here, or I back myself to just aim 40 yards left and just hit it and know that it's going to move.
See, my recent method is to try and draw it against it. Uh,
Mm, mixed
I've
results.
not hit a draw. Yeah, I've not hit a draw in 2 years. So
Someone who's
Yeah,
played with you
I've not hit a draw
competitively,
in two
that's
years,
mixed
but I'm going to
results.
try and draw against the wind. Yeah, great.
yeah, do you know what? And again, I've so many good players. You'll see it when there's this huge wind. This is a good differentiate between like a good player or a very, very good player is start lines and just forgetting, all your ego and aiming 40 yards left for a wind
Yeah.
rather than trying to fight it. Sorry, we're getting technical and away from
Yeah.
scratch.
Well, no
But
touch conditions as well as saying it kind of comes back to that birdies and bogeys stats. I mean, when we played college events and it was literally like we played a tournament once and they cut the event from 3 days to two because the second day
Mhm.
was unplayable.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
just
it
not
is
making doubles
not
is
making doubles.
basically what
Exactly.
you need
And
to do.
you know, when you talk about dropping your ego at the door, last week on the PGA Tour, the guy who chipped it along the
Yeah.
floor he's a tour
Mm,
professional. He's hitting it along the floor. He may as well use the
yeah,
putter. I guess you
literally.
just got to forget everything you know and just play to the conditions,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
no matter what.
So I would say to become a scratch golfer, do we want to summarize? I'm going to ask you actually, this would be interesting. I'll ask you that question again that I asked at the start, which is what is a scratch golfer? Go ahead,
Um,
Jordan.
Can we just say this? John's just going to say the same answer.
Please not.
someone that shoots around 4 or 5 over consistently. Yeah, it's like I said, someone who is pretty good at something, but there's obviously something that they can improve on to get to the next level. And it's about identifying that, making that better, um, and then working from there. Because if you're not a scratch golfer and you're trying to get to scratch, there must be some part of your game that's not up to scratch, as they say.
Oh no.
Very good. A scratch golf to me is someone who plays in competitions, Um,
Hmm.
can shoot under par now and again. Has a couple of high numbers in him. Loves the game and wants to get better.
Okay, that was pretty
Loves
good.
loves the game.
I would say very similar. Someone who can perform under a reasonable amount of pressure.
Mhm.
I think to play to scratch, you don't need to necessarily be playing national events, but um, someone who can play with a card in their hand has a game that they can consistently shoot low to mid 70s on their course and a range of other courses, even in tough conditions. That's what I would
Very
say.
good.
So
Fantastic. I think you've just was that the Oxford Dictionary definition there, was it?
that was, yeah,
I
and
think you've
that
nailed
that
it.
was that was Chat ETC. It wasn't Chat GPT.
ETC.
Chat etc Oxford Dictionary.
So yeah, I think that was a good way to conclude. Very philosophical at the end there.
Yeah.
So this, in terms of posting, we're doing very well for a few weeks consistently on a Wednesday morning. Last week's went out on a Tuesday. That was intentional by me to see if it made any difference, and it didn't. So at least we know now.
We got 2 million
So
and one
I
views
was
this
like,
week.
I thought logically, on a Tuesday you've got people listening to this in the car. I was
Yeah.
it's not another 3 days. Maybe by the next week they've forgotten about it.
Ethan was
Um,
talking launch strategy midweek
yeah,
for our
Yeah,
for
we maybe
our
we should maybe just
million
put one
views.
out on a Saturday. I reckon we just put one out on a Saturday.
yeah.
Let's do one. Let's do one on Friday. Why not?
And this one's going out on a Thursday. It was because it's Wednesday night now. About to watch Liverpool get beat again for about the
Yeah,
20th
can't
time
wait.
this year,
Come
which is
on.
brilliant for a Liverpool fan. But so yeah, we're going to try and keep it the consistency at least once a week. We can do that somewhere
Yep.
in the
We
midweek.
can. Yeah.
So yes, I'll have it on YouTube as well. Follow us on all our socials, and not sure what we're doing the next one. Maybe have Rob back on. Could be a debrief from his week in
Asian
Asian
tour
tour,
win.
hopefully with the
Oh,
trophy in hand.
let's
Yeah.
just hope he wins.
Let's just hope he wins. So good luck to Rob, and yeah, see you in the next one.
See ya.
See ya.